Hello everyone, my name is Ed Bonner and today we're going to talk about the 10 weird things found at the bottom of the Great Lakes. 1910 locomotive steam engine. June 9th, 1910, a Canadian Pacific freight train, locomotive number 694, was traveling along Marathon, Ontario sea cliffs when it collided with rocks that had covered the tracks from a landslide. The crash sent the train careening into Lake Superior, taking the lives of 3 crewmen, one of whom died trying to jump from the train before it hit the rocks. The crash sent the train tumbling down the 60-foot cliff into the lake below. With that, the train remained undisturbed for 106 years. Several of the boxcars were found in Lake Superior in 2014, but the rest of the train remained elusive. But on July 22nd, 2016, a team of shipwreck hunters from Minnesota and Canada found the lost Canadian Pacific Railway locomotive number 694 in about 235 feet of water near the town of Marathon, Ontario. The train was hidden among massive boulders on the lake bottom. A team was surveying the wreck, hoping to find a whistle or bell to bring back, but the Ontario government disallowed them to search and retrieve. Salvaging the locomotive itself was not feasible. The largest collection of Nash automobiles in the world. The world's largest collection of 1929 and 1930 Nash motor automobiles exists not in a museum, but rather entombed in the frigid depths of Lake Michigan. 268 Nash cars sit quietly in the dark, lined up in rows of 3 inside the ship that rests 450 feet of water and 16 miles northeast of Port Washington, Wisconsin, a value of $251,000. It was 10:20 p.m. Halloween night, 1929, and Lake Michigan was snuggled in a thick blanket of fog as the ship's senator, hauling the autos, sailed across the lake at full speed. Only being able to see 100 feet through the heavy, dense mist, the senator heard a fog signal of another ship nearby. It was a steel bulk carrier named the SS Marquis, and she was carrying 7,000 tons of iron on her way to Indiana Harbor. The two ships would meet in a crash when the Marquis ran into the senator on her port side. The distress signal echoed over the radio waves. SOS collided with SS Marquis, 20 miles east of Port Washington, sinking fast. Icy cold water rushed into the empty spaces of the Senator. Several of the crew jumped into the water while others made it onto the Marquis. A tugboat rescued 15 men from the lake. 480 seconds, just 8 minutes, and the SS Senator vanished into the depths beneath the surface and floated gently down to her final resting place with 10 crew members for company. An investigation report later found both captains equally at fault for steaming at high speed in dense fog. An ancient hunting camp. Deep below the surface of Lake Huron, scuba diving researchers have found an elaborate network of hunting blinds and animal herding structures dating back roughly 9,000 years. Lake levels were some 250 feet lower, exposing a narrow bridge of land running from one side of Huron to the other, extending northeast Michigan to southern Ontario. Prehistoric people evidently thought this region was a perfect place to intercept caribou on their seasonal migration. The hunting site they built, now underwater, opens a window onto prehistoric America and provides a valuable evidence in a region where artifacts are practically non-existent. Two parallel lines of stone on the ridge dead-ended, and this allowed the hunters to trap the animals and kill. V-shaped stone patterns are thought to be hunting blinds throughout the ridge valley. Divers found artifacts that were used to sharpen many hunting tools. Michigan's very own Stonehenge. While using solar equipment to locate shipwrecks in 2007, Mark Hawley, a professor of underwater archaeology at Northwestern Michigan University, identified a circular formation of stones 40 feet deep beneath Lake Michigan. Very mysterious in their origin, the area is thought to be built by indigenous people, likely created during the last ice age when the lake was dry. One stone in the outer circle, although still up for debate, appears to have a carving of a mastodon, an animal that closely resembles an elephant that went extinct over 10,000 years ago. These underwater antiquities give us a glimpse of how prehistoric human communities worked together to find meat. The exact coordinates of the find are kept secret, as per local Indian tribes who do not want the rush of tourism. World War I German U-boat. In 1921, a U.S. Navy gunboat fired 18 4-inch rounds at a German U-boat submarine and sunk it in 200 feet of water in Lake Michigan. World War I was the first real industrial war marked for its brutality and large numbers of casualties, not to mention the advances in weapons technology that must have seemed like magic to the people who had never seen poison gas, automatic machine guns, and especially boats that moved underneath the waves, sinking giant battleships from the depths. So after years of hearing about evil German U-boats mercilessly sinking tons and tons of Allied shipping and killing thousands of sailors while silently slipping beneath the waves, one of those ships began touring the coastal cities of the United States, and people understandably wanted to see it. November 11, 1918, armistice demanded that the German Navy turn over its ships to the British, but instead of doing that, the Germans scuttled the bulk of their fleet near the British base of Scapa Flow. The submarines, however, survived. Seeing that there were so many U-boats and that German technology surrounding U-boats used some of the best technology at all time, the British offered them out to other nations, as long as the submarines were destroyed when their youthfulness came to an end. The United States accepted one UC-97 and toured it around the country to raise money needed to pay off the enormous war debt incurred by the government of the United States. The UC-97 was sailed up the St. Lawrence Seaway into Lake Ontario and then Lake Erie. It was the first submarine ever sailed in the Great Lakes. Eventually, though, the novelty of the ship wore off, and after raising money, recruiting sailors, and giving all the tech she had on board, finally it was time to destroy the ship. The U-97 couldn't really move under her own power and was towed to the middle of Lake Michigan, where she was sunk for target practice by the USS Wilmette and forgotten by the Navy for decades. An 11-foot marble crucifix. How did an Italian-made crucifix end up in Lake Michigan, 244 meters deep in the water? In the 1950s, a couple purchased a carved statue in Italy that featured a traditional life-size 5 feet 5 inches of Jesus on a cross for a grave marker. However, being shipped overseas, the cross suffered a crack. The couple rejected it and was sold in an insurance sale. The Wyandotte Diving Club purchased the cross to commemorate a diver who died doing what he did best. The diver dropped the cross 365 meters offshore for other divers could enjoy and pay their respects. Then, in the early 1980s, the Michigan Skin Diving Council began a salvage and restoration process. They moved the cross closer to shore and adding a new base. Now sitting at the depth of about 6.5 meters, the cross can be seen from the surface. A 7-room, fully furnished vacation house. The 6.5-kilometer, 4-mile path between Bayside, Wisconsin and Madeline Island in Lake Superior was frozen over in the winter of 1977. But was it frozen enough to move the house across? Lyle Ryan of Dell Movers in Minneapolis was convinced it was. He had an ice road explicitly plowed for the purpose of moving the house from the mainland to the island. On March 2nd, the 4-mile ride commenced. It progressed pretty well for the first 3 miles of those miles. At the 3-mile mark, the tires of the trailer holding the house broke down and through the ice. Lyle and his riding partner, who had been wisely driving with the doors of their vehicle open, bailed from the truck while it was still in gear. The truck sank first and then the home in 21 meters of water. The following summer, the Coast Guard insisted that the owner salvage the wreckage, and the truck was brought to the surface. Cables were tied to the house in hopes of keeping it intact, but the effort to raise it were unsuccessful. It broke into pieces and remains on the lake's floor. Rare World War II fighter plane. The Douglas Dauntless World War II fighter plane was rumored to take 200 bullets and still see her pilot safely home. Few of them were spared from seeing a day in battle. And today, only 14 known planes remain of the nearly 6,000 built between 1939 and 1944. There are, however, about 75 of them sitting on the bottom of the Lake Michigan. Deciding the lake was far enough inland to be safe from attack, the U.S. Navy began training World War II carrier pilots in 1942. It launched its first aircraft from the USS Wolverine, which at 167 meters long was shorter than the average aircraft carrier. It was thought that if the pilot could land on that short deck, he could land on any deck in the U.S. Navy. Overall, The training program was a huge success, with 35,000 new pilots making more than 120,000 successful landings. But there were misses as well. U.S. Navy records show 128 losses and over 200 accidents. Most resulted in only minor injuries, and the Douglas Dauntless aircraft weren't salvaged for repair unless they sank in shallow water. Efforts to recover the aircraft started in May 2004, and today several of those 14 existing planes are pieces of collection found in Lake Michigan. Old Whitey, the preserved corpse of the USS Kamloops. The Great Lakes, at their depth, stayed a temperature of about 4 degrees Celsius, 40 degrees Fahrenheit, and its clear, sterile waters are perfect for keeping sunken items well preserved. This includes all the bodies of the sailors who went down with their ships. When the cargo vessel USS Kamloops sunk in Lake Superior in December 1927, it remained lost for 50 years. Upon its discovery, divers found that the ship had been amazingly preserved in Superior's cold, bacterial-free environment. Lifesavers candy was found still in its package. Shoes, furniture, and fixtures were found in near perfect condition, and faucets even still turned. This was also true of a body they found in the engine room. Because of the natural process that occurs in cold temperature after a human body dies, corpses take on a white, waxy appearance, which explains why divers have since nicknamed the engine room steward Whitey. He remains there in his watery grave, waiting to greet others who explore his boat. While Whitey is a notable Lake Superior corpse, he is one of many to have gone down with his ship on the Great Lakes. Many wrecks are controlled diving sites for this reason. Families of the dead don't want their loved ones disturbed in their final resting place. This is the end. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. Let me know. Let your remarks pan out. I appreciate you listening. Thank you.